Hello everyone, I am Brown Exotical Glow, and in today's video I will be talking about why a lot of beautiful women, especially mixed or exoticals, are socially awkward. So for the first point I wanted to bring up for why a lot of beautiful exoticals or mixed women are socially awkward is a lot of us come from a background where we have controlling, overbearing, or narcissistic parents. So you might have parents that micromanage you, so that leads you to be like very self-conscious of yourself. Or you have very narcissistic parents, like they're grooming you to be like their flunky, or maybe they're grooming you to be in the spotlight, or they want you to be a performer or a model or something like that. Maybe they never got to live their dreams, so they're kind of trying to live through you. Also, you can have parents that praise your beauty, but like very overly critique like your life choices, like your group of friends, your personality. Maybe they just reduced you just to like your appearance. Or something I can relate to myself is that they limited your independence. So they overly sheltered you to a point where like you never really got to get out and gain any experience or develop any real social skills. Also, this can come from growing up mixed in a more monoracial environment. You might have an identity confusion. Like if you grew up in a city that's predominantly monoracially black or white, if you grew up in the suburbs or the inner city, or if you grew up in a mostly like African American or Caribbean neighborhood where mostly everyone is monoracial, black and white. Also, it can come from microaggressions or isolation, like people constantly questioning you about your background. What are you? Or you're not really black, you're Indian or you're Hispanic. Also, you might feel pressure to fit in. You might feel like you have to code switch, like you have to talk in more slang, or maybe you need to adjust your accent, maybe to a more Bali girl accent to be more socially accepted. You don't want to stand out. Also, you deal with a lot of envy or fetishization, so you don't fully belong here, or you're very exoticized. Also, community dynamics can play a part in this. So if you come from like a small or tight-knit community, there's not a lot of privacy within your community. Like everyone knows each other's business. Or you come from a very enmeshed family unit. Like you don't get to have any secrets. You don't get to have like a private social life. Like if you want to keep like your friends or relationship kind of separate, when you come from like an enmeshed family. And that's something I can relate to. I remember I was dating this guy in college, and we weren't like in a relationship or anything. We dated for like 3 months, and somehow my family found his picture on social media, and they were passing it around. Like I myself come from like a very enmeshed family. It becomes very weird and creepy, and that makes me like very anxious. So also, if you come from like a very religious or like conservative family, there's like strict rules around reputation. Your family doesn't want to look like bad. They're very concerned about their appearance. They want to look like the perfect family. Also, it can come from a lack of representation in a community where normal doesn't align with like your personal beliefs or values. For instance, like I grew up in the inner city, but I was very into like punk rock, and like I would say I was more like I've always been like a county girl at heart. Like I moved from the suburbs to the inner city when I was like 6, but I feel like mentally I never left the suburbs. My style was always very suburban, even though I lived in the inner city. So I didn't really listen to like the music or keep up with the style that everyone else was wearing. Also, you received over attention and being objectified at a very early age. So you dealt with a lot of sexual harassment and people just assuming that you're hypersexual because of how you look. You get a lot of stares from people, a lot of catcalling. Also, as a beautiful exotic or mixed woman, you might deal with trust issues and being very guarded. And this causes you to struggle to find genuine connections instead you find users. So that causes you to like hold back in conversations. always underlying jealousy and competition with friends. You think someone is your friend, but really they're secretly competing with you. They're trying to copy you. They're jealous of you. They might even be talking about you behind your back. They might try to undermine you or sabotage you. Also, experiencing a lot of isolation. So usually a lot of beautiful women, you're automatically labeled very negatively. Like you could be labeled as stuck up if you don't talk to anybody, if you don't speak in the room and say hi and smile at everyone. You would automatically be labeled stuck up. And also, a lot of beautiful women deal with a lack of social support at an early age, which can greatly affect your development socially. Also, people will much rather gossip about you instead of getting to know you. I remember when I first went to middle school, it was a predominantly monoracially Black Catholic school, and I was very quiet because I was new to the school, and people were making up weird rumors about me. Somebody said they thought I was crazy. They thought I would I think they said something like I would shoot up the school or something like that. I don't know where they got that from. It was just weird that they would come to that conclusion just because I was quiet. Also, people assume that you are confident and get attention. So to them, being quiet equals you must be rude or stuck up. People usually give more judgment than they give grace to beautiful women. And also, as a beautiful woman, you feel pressure to live up to your looks. So you might have a fear of embarrassment because of people will criticize you more harshly than other people. Also, you carry a larger load. You have to balance being beautiful, being intelligent, and being liked by everyone. Also, when you are a beautiful woman, a lot of times if you're neurodivergent, that can be greatly overlooked. Like if you might have autism, you might have ADHD or some type of mental illness or disorder, people usually look at you and see how well put together you are, how attractive you are, and they think, well, you don't look like you have autism, you don't look like you have ADHD. People seem to think that having a disorder has a look. I don't know if they expect you to be deformed or they expect you to be disabled. I don't know why people think that autism or ADHD or any mental illness or disorder has a specific look. I don't know. People are just very dumb, I guess. People think, oh, well, you look perfect, so your life must be perfect. So people just ignore your struggles. They don't care. Maybe you might be suffering with anxiety. You might have depression, or, you can come from a very toxic home. You can be dealing with abuse, but people don't even really consider that when you're beautiful. They just automatically label you in a negative way. And specifically as an exotical, if you're mixed or you're very ambiguous, people automatically look at you as different or exotic. People automatically want to know what you're mixed with. And that causes people to either some people will fetishize you, and some people might even resent you for looking different or for the fact that you get the spotlight on you. People are curious about you. People want to ask about your background. Also, you deal with a lot of jealousy and exclusion because you are attractive and you can't be easily labeled. You can't be put into a box of just black or white. Other women might view you as a threat because of that. So a lot of times this kind of stunts your natural social development, and it can cause you to become very awkward and self-conscious. Also, as a beautiful exotical, you have to juggle two identities a lot, or multiple identities. You have to be aware of your style, your speech, and how you identify. It needs to align with the community you choose to operate in. So if you choose to be in the Black community or you choose to be in the white community, you have to make sure that you're keeping up with the style everyone is wearing. You have to make sure you're speaking like everyone else. It's the fact that you are already attractive and the fact that you are exotic in people's eyes. If you don't, learn the lingo or you don't pick up the style of everyone else, it can make you an outcast. You have to perform in a way that becomes very exhausting. So also hyper awareness and being watched. when you are a beautiful, exotic woman, it feels like you're constantly under a spotlight. Like, it feels like, I don't know, sometimes it feels like I'm always on display. Even if people are probably not always looking at me, I feel like there's a spotlight on you. Like, it's almost like you have a halo. You have the halo effect, basically. People might even stereotype you in a way that makes you like second guess yourself, and that causes you to appear very awkward. And also, you might have trust and identity struggles. Do people see me as Black, or do they see me as other? I used to struggle with that a lot. Like, do people accept me? Or sometimes when you're like a exotical, especially a beautiful exotical, I feel like people look at you like you're some sort of fairy. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like people think you have some sort of privileges or some sort of power, or you got something different going on. And it's just like, I'm a human being like everyone else. I have struggles, but people just, I don't know. It's just weird the way that people treat or look at beautiful exoticals. So a lot of times, basic interactions feel very strained, or very overwhelming, because it's like in the back of your head, you're like, do these people accept me? Am I saying the right things? Am I dressed the right way? Am I standing out too much? Are people going to think I'm stuck up? Do people think I'm weird? Do people think I'm not Black? Do people see me as mixed? Or are people just not caring at all? Or do they just see me as a human being? That's what I struggle with as well. Always at the back of my mind. So it's like a basic interaction I feel a lot of times I feel drained and overwhelmed. And I'm sure a lot of beautiful exoticals feel like that. So I feel like the ways to remedy this is building authentic connections with like-minded people, especially other mixed exoticals, or even other people of color that might identify with the struggles of exoticals. I feel like a lot of brown people can identify. Like, I recognize a lot of Asian people. I get along well with Asian people specifically. I noticed, like, and at work and even other places, I get along really well with the Asian community. So you can bond with people over shared interests like books, shows, or going to events. And also, I feel like as a beautiful exotical, you have to set boundaries. You don't have to constantly explain your background to people. You don't have to tell them, oh, I'm mixed with this, I'm from here. I'm like, gain control of the conversation. If you don't want to tell people or explain your whole background, you're not obligated to. If you want to just say, well, I'm human, I'm American, I don't really want to talk about my background, you have the right to do so. You have the right to control the conversation. And also, to reduce hyper-awareness, take deep breaths before going to an event. If you have to rehearse, that's perfectly fine. Whatever it takes to make you feel comfortable. Also, you don't have to look people directly in the eye. I know that could be kind of intense. Sometimes I'll look at people's eyebrows, or I look for like a interesting part of someone's face, like their nose or their eyebrows, or, just something to make the conversation less uncomfortable. And also, instead of going to like major events, like huge parties, you can start with like small social interactions, like going to a small yoga class or a dance class. Also, to develop identity security, I feel like, of course, the Exoticals United is a great group to join. This Exotical Space is great, this online group. And also language classes, salsa classes, and like other cultural activities that align with your background to make you, so you can learn more about your background, to have more pride. And I feel like that helps. Also, just redirecting the conversation to something other than your appearance. If people want to keep talking about your hair and your skin and your ethnicity, start talking about something else. Talk about your favorite show, or like a viral show, or an artist that you're listening to, or, I don't know, your nails. You don't have to keep the conversation about your appearance if you don't want to. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, or you can always just lead the conversation somewhere else, or you could just walk away. That's also an option. Also, you don't have to live up to the expectations. I feel like a lot of exoticals, because of the trauma that we face, a lot of beautiful women as well in general, and especially a beautiful mixed or exotical women, we feel like we always have to be nice and sweet. We have to live up to the nice, pretty mixed girl stereotype. And like I said, you don't have to. You don't have to keep explaining yourself. You don't have to list out your whole background. You don't have to prove your blackness to everyone else. You don't have to code switch or try to live up to the style. You don't have to change your style to match with anyone else. If people don't accept you for who you are, then walk away or just be by yourself. That's always an option. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for the next one. Thank you.